When we look at also the problems we face, and how big a problem do you think the problem of gangs is in this county?
Gangs have been a bad problem, but now, if you noticed over the last few years, they haven't been as active. I think good enforcement has probably controlled it. Now, I hate seeing the graffiti. Now, we do have quite a bit of graffiti around. I mean, I think that makes our city and county look bad. They're trying to control it, but as far as the violence, we haven't had as much. So we just, we got to keep pressure on them, control that situation, not let it increase like it did 10, 15 years ago.
But image is a bad thing also. You found out working in the city of Gainesville Police Department just the problem we had at the mall.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it used to be terrible. I mean, people used to be afraid to walk in the mall. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen the gangs gather up like they used to. I think they're more dispersed than what they used to be. But during my career in the police department, I worked investigations, and I've worked a lot of the gang murders. And luckily, a lot of the violent ones are in jail, been deported. So I think it's better than what it was a few years ago.
Right, there's two things we'll talk about with our guest this morning on Community Focus, John Sisk, is the immigration problem. Are you in favor of 287G, and how would you work with that system?
Okay. I'm in favor of the way it is now. I've heard some, or at least one candidate say that they'd like to have all deputies where they can go out and check staff. I don't think that's our job. I think doing it in the jail, basically the way it is now, is a good platform for it. I know there's some things in Congress, and President Obama's looking at that may even change it more in the near future. Mm-hmm. But if someone gets arrested, they're illegal, it's checked, and then the steps goes forward from there. I think that works well, handling it that way. But I don't think we need every deputy out here, looking for illegal aliens in Hall County.
Give me an idea, for example, people may ask this question. We've got the old jail on Main Street, the CCA is in controls, and most of their inmate population is immigration inmate problems. How do you work with them? Because most of them, I would think, you would automatically think them would be illegals.
Okay. My understanding, they are. Basically what they are a privatized jail. I think they're mostly funded through the federal government. They handle their prisoners, and then they do transports all over the United States. Sheriff's Department really don't have that much other than when the federal government says, hey, they go from here to there, but they don't control what's going on inside their facility there. It's totally a private jail is all it is.
You also mentioned your background in investigations. Let's talk about the standpoint. How important is the investigative part of the Sheriff's Department, and how big a force when it comes to the men and women who work in that department? What kind of job do they face?
Okay. I think it's very crucial, which always patrol is your backbone of your law enforcement. And then criminal investigation is a backup of patrol. It's an extension because patrol don't have the time to go into the in-depth investigations, that criminal investigation. Bottom line, we can't live without them. We have to have them. We can't stop all crimes. There's no way we'll ever prevent all crimes. But we need a good force of men and women out there that can investigate them and find the people that's committing them and then arrest them when they need to be arrested and go forward from there. We just can't live without a strong criminal investigation division.
Well, I don't realize how important it is until we see those cases go before the DA's office.
Exactly. I got to go testify Wednesday, I think, on a grand jury case. But yes, they have to be able to present a good case and get it to them so it can be prosecuted.
How important is the sheriff's role working with the DA's department?
It's very important. It's essential because it works hand in hand. I mean, once you make an arrest and it gets in the hands of the courts, if you don't present a good case when you go and testify in the trial or before the grand jury, it's going to fall apart. I mean, it's a waste of a lot of money. That's the important thing. You've got to have a good, strong case. Do it right. And, that's one thing Sheriff's Department needs. I mean, they need more computers and all to present their cases to the court system.
Well, when you say hand on hand, when it comes to the Sheriff's Department's role and for the sheriff being head of the Sheriff's Department, how hands-on would you be in the daily operations of the department?
Okay. I'd be 100% hands-on, which A 500-man department, I mean, you can't be a patrolman. You can't be out there working traffic or riding the roads every day. You have to manage what's going on. You have to have a good management team. But I would be very visible in what was going on. I mean, major crimes, any special events going on, you would see me out there working. But again, too, you've got to manage the sheriff's department.
What qualifications do you have when it comes to management when looking at the size of the force we have for the Hall County Sheriff's Department?
Okay. I've got over 26 years in law enforcement, and during my 26 years, I've worked in the jail, I've worked on patrol, I've worked traffic enforcement. Majority of my career has been criminal investigations. I've worked as a school resource officer and as a supervisor on the road. For South Georgia, which Georgia Post, they offer 3 schools for supervision. I've had all 3 of those. They offer 3 for management. I've had 2 of the 3 management. So I have supervised and I have dealt with management. So it'd be a big job, but I think I can put a good staff together to manage the sheriff's department.
Dealing with management, you got to deal with the Hall County Commission also, which controls the budget. If you're elected sheriff, how would you work with them?
Okay. Same thing as you would do in municipalities. You got to do a team approach. You got to be willing to sit down and talk to them. You know, I know there's going to be times there would be headbutting, but you've got to work through issues and try to make it work because, you know, they've got the money that sheriff's department has to have, and you just, you know, there's no easy answer there other than communicating with them and, you know, trying to serve the needs that you need to take care of.
Well, in these tough economic times, I know you want to maximize all the money you can get. You mentioned before about going line by line, but also you got to work with the people you're serving. It's a tough balancing job, isn't it?
It is, and it always will be because, like I mentioned earlier, the citizens of Hall County don't want their taxes to go up. So, you know, when you're talking about $30 million or $3 million plus, which is roughly a third of the county's budget, you know, there's things that you have to pay for. I mean, like I said, the 1,000 people that you're housing at the jail, you know, you can't send your employees home and say, hey, we'll see y'all tomorrow morning. You have to be there and take care of them. So there are certain things, but you can manage the monies. You know, don't overspend. Don't waste money. You know, don't put money in things that, you know, that's not needed. If you take care of the daily needs, I think it can be managed without the budget going up.
As a candidate for sheriff, how many opportunities have you had even to see the operations of the sheriff's department and maybe with upper management and maybe some changes you might make in that role?
Okay. During my years of law enforcement, I've known, I guess, all the upper management at the sheriff's department. So we have talked in the past. I have sat on some of their promotion boards. I've dealt with them. I know we've had several leave over the last year. Donnie Gerard. There's several others that's just not coming ahead right now, but I know there's been 2-3 that's left in the past year. So it's going to be a rebuilding of the management of the sheriff's department. There's a lot of good people there. There's some minor tweaking that needs to be done, but
you already mentioned this morning. We talked about before about morale. Is it how do you increase the morale there at the sheriff's department?
Okay. Well, one thing, you know, right now they've been in a what-if situation. Are furloughs going to stay or are they going to go? You know, they've been roughly 4 years with furloughs, and that's cost them basically 5% of their salary every year. You know, that money's not the only issue because if you give people money, that's just a momentary thing. But you've got to have the officers take ownership in their job, ownership in what they're doing there. You know, which you're not going to get rich in law enforcement. I mean, if you're going there to become rich, you won't. But it's a great life. I've enjoyed what I've done with it. I look forward to having a few more years as sheriff of Hall County. And once you do that, once you build ownership, you set standards. I mean, you have a fair promotional process. You have a fair, progressive disciplinary process, so they know what's going to happen. You know, you don't treat one person one way, another person the other. As long as it's fair and equal for everybody, and everybody know where they stand, that will help to build a morale issue there.
When you mention standards, how important? I know you've worked with the city police department. You know how rigorous it is when it comes to certification. How important would that be to the sheriff's department?
I think it's very important, both the national and state accreditation. And a lot of people have misunderstandings on it because I've heard one of the candidates say that they wasn't going to let that control him as sheriff. That has nothing to do. All that is standards on how a department operates, and through the national accreditation, that basically sets the standards of how all departments all across the nation operates. Same thing with state accreditation, how the different law enforcement agencies across the states operate. It's not telling you how to run your department or anything. You have options on on the standards you want and you don't want. But in any job nowadays, especially law enforcement, you've got to have something to guide you on how you're going to do your job. So I think it's very important that we keep accreditation. And in fact, that also too, it saves you on frivolous lawsuits. The money it costs, you save more. It also decreases your liability insurance. So overall, you got a savings that would save the people of Hall County, rather than if you do away with it and, the standard's not there, you're going to be attacked more with lawsuits at that point.
We're talking with John Sisk this morning on Community Focus. He's one of the 5 candidates running to become the new Hall County Sheriff. One thing I've asked all the different candidates is that we've heard in a sense that with the CCA sale from now to the city from the county is that the Sheriff's Department offices will be there at that location until 2017. At the same standpoint, possibly of having to move into a different location, maybe even build a brand new Sheriff's Department for the administrative offices. Give me your ideas about that. Are you in favor of doing that? Where would you like to see even built?
Okay. Which, of course, that's something that have to be dealt with the commissioners and all. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of on side of the jail. I'd like to see, because when you get separated out like that, you get decentralized, and that hurts in your morale also. I think if the sheriff's offices was put back somewhere near the property there, the jail, it would help bring them together, help the control of everything that's going on. And, of course, I don't have no figures on what it'd cost to build there. But, I mean, they've got to go somewhere. I don't know if Liberty Mutual Building would hold the Sheriff's Department or not. But, I mean, they've got to have room somewhere. And so they're going to have to go somewhere. So I think that'd be a good site for them to be at.
When you mentioned the number of people that makes up the Sheriff's Department, talk to our listeners for a moment about those that just serve administration, those that serve in the jail, and for those who are out there that we see on a daily basis. And there's been talk about comparing Hall County, the size of our population in this county compared to the other ones, and say, okay, do we have enough? Do we have too many men and women serving in the Sheriff's Department? Talk about that for a moment, please.
Which, of course, I'd have to spend a little time to figure. I don't think we have too many, because the calls of service that we have, the 3 operations we got, the courts, the jail, and the patrol functions, I don't think we have too many now. But now, as we look at it, I mean, if we lose any officers, you could look at openings and all that, whether you need to fill them or not. But it's real close right now. I mean, we could probably use a few more officers, because from what I'm hearing, there's shortages in the jail. Most nights they're running 5 officers short in the jail. So I don't think we could cut it very much at all.
Again, our guest this morning on Community Focus has been John Sisk. I'll give you 1 minute to talk to our listeners and say why they should vote for you.
Okay, lifelong resident, law enforcement has been my career. I want to see a professional department, the Sheriff's Department. I want to see it go forward from what's been built on in the years previously. I think I'm the person to do that. I think I can build the management team and improve the morale and get the officers back out in the communities, serving the people of Hall County, in which, to me, that is what their job is to serve the citizens of Hall County.
All right. Thanks for being with us. I appreciate it very much. All the best to you. And our guest this morning on Community Focus has been John Sisk. Join us tomorrow morning at 9:05 as we focus on the community on Glory 1330 WGTJ and online at glory1330.com.